Start the meeting, Chairman.
Thank you, Hazel. Well, good evening, everybody. A few words of explanation before we start. This is a hybrid parish council meeting. We have the 8 people you can see on screen who are in a Zoom call, and the meeting is available live streamed on YouTube for anybody else who wants to have a look. The 8 people you can see on screen, hiding behind the image of the village hall is our parish clerk, Hazel Brinton, 5 parish councillors, and 2 representatives of the one speaking for the motion and 1 speaking against the motion to make a recommendation on the planning application, which is item 5 on the agenda. So more of that as we get underway. Item 1 then, to receive any apologies for absence, we have none. Item 2, to receive any declarations of interest in items in the agenda. For the benefit of members of the public watching, councillors are required to declare if they have a pecuniary, that's a financial interest in any of the items that we're going to discuss this evening. It doesn't mean that they have no interest whatsoever in the item. This is a small village, and most of us are to a greater or lesser extent involved with many things that go on in the village. But if we have a financial interest in an application, we must declare it. Therefore, do any councillors have an interest to declare in any items on the agenda this evening?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Item 3 then, to adopt the minutes of the virtual meeting held on the 21st of July. The minutes of that meeting have been circulated to parish councillors, and they've had plenty of time to have a look at it. It is our usual practice to assume that they've been read, and we simply take any points of disagreement with them. Otherwise, we have a motion to accept them. Is everybody happy with the minutes, of the draft minutes of the meeting on the 21st of July?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Fine. Item 4 and 5 then, I propose to conflate together because we've only got one substantial item on the agenda tonight. That's the planning application. This is an opportunity for members of the public who have registered to do so to speak for or against the proposal. We have 2 speakers, 1 for and 1 against. I propose to take the speaker against the planning application first. I will also summarise a number of written submissions which we've received about the planning application. I'll then take the speaker for the planning application, after which the councillors will discuss and arrive at a recommendation. So the process is you get 3 minutes to speak against it. Dan, can you please try and stick to that timing? And if you could introduce who you are, first of all, and where you're coming from, and then we'll start your 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. My name's Dan Foster. I'm a Chartered Town Planner for Salmon Planning Company, and I represent several local objectors to the planning application for the new dwelling at Pilton Road. If you're ready, I'll start with my main points. North Wootton is not identified in the adopted local plan as a sustainable location for new house building. The adopted policies in the plan only allow for new dwellings in exceptional circumstances, such as to provide affordable housing for local people. The policy concession, which the applicant describes in his submission, relates to the specialist care homes and similar such developments. That is not what is proposed here, and the application should be determined on the basis that it is for a dwelling in the countryside. In any event, the care home policy firstly requires evidence that there is no other suitably available sites in the larger villages and towns in the district, and no evidence of this nature exists for the application. Even setting aside this in principle policy objection, the application site is clearly in the open countryside and well outside the established built form of the village proper. The new dwelling would occupy a prominent and elevated and sloping site, and would be, alongside its new access, driveway, garden and garage, a harmful element in the countryside which would erode the rural setting of the village. The new dwelling would be an alien and jarring urban feature, which, when it's seen from the public right-of-way that passes immediately adjacent, would be harmful. The design of the dwelling is uninspiring, does not foster local distinctiveness as required by the adopted village design statement. Much is made in the application submission about the applicant's personal circumstances, but as councillors will be aware, any planning permission runs with the land is not personal to an individual. For example, the land could be sold to a third party immediately on the grant of any planning permission. As such, personal circumstances are not a material planning consideration, and any decision that takes them into account would be wrong in law and would set a very dangerous precedent. In our view, the new access onto Pilton Road would be dangerous, would generate additional traffic movements onto a narrow and steeply sloping section of the road, which is well used, and this would be prejudicial to highway safety. In summary, one new dwelling would make a minor difference to the overall housing supply in the district, and there would be significant harmful effects which clearly outweigh these benefits. The personal circumstances of the applicant are not material, and there is no policy support for the provision of ad hoc dwellings in the countryside. There are currently 5 letters of objection on Mendip's website and none in support. We hope the Parish Council will therefore recommend refusal of this application in line with local views and local plan policies. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, and thank you for comfortably keeping within the time. Very good. Can we take the second speaker? Again, the same procedure. Introduce yourself, please, Lee, and then I'll start the clock.
Good evening, Chair and Councillors. I'm Lee Wright of Wright Consult. I'm agent for the application. It's the application for the new dwelling at Penmain, with the applicant being Roger Eddy. Roger is 79 years old and he's lived in the village for 48 years. In his advancing years, he'd very much like to stay within the village, where he's made strong contacts over the time that he's lived here. What he's looking to do is, subject to planning, is erect a whole life home. To be very specific, it's a tangible, there's a tangible measure on that through the building regulations, in that it's 3 levels and it's designed to meet or exceed M42, and with the addition of a lift it would meet M43 level, so that the space is provided for a lift and it could be installed as and when required. The application's put forward on the basis of Mendip Local Plan Policy DP14, and that says that proposals for care homes or similar specialist accommodation, for very clear, it says or similar specialist accommodation, i.e. a home in which somebody can receive care. And it says that it meets an identified local need. We put that there is an identified local need, as there are not these types of dwellings available with this high level of accessibility. It says it will be permitted in accordance with the plan's overall spatial strategy, and exceptionally permission for such accommodation outside development limits will be granted where there is clear justification having regard to the need for the facility and evidence of the unsuitability and or unavailability of alternative sites within named settlements. Now, clearly within North Wootton, there is no such facility. Properties come onto the market very infrequently, and many of those will have the same issues as the applicant's current property, in that it doesn't have these levels of accessibility. Whilst there may well be facilities within nearby towns, that obviously removes the applicant from the place that they've lived for many years and the place which they would like to remain. And these issues are ones that come to supporting members of the community, people with strong ties to the community. And it would enable the applicant to live in the property in their advancing years and deal with lots of care issues, whereby they can get around the house themselves. And if they need a living carer, there is space there to provide accommodation for that living carer, as well as any visiting relatives. In addition to the property being proposed, there's it's very energy efficient. It's got high levels of insulation. It's got a green roof. It looks to use an air source or a ground source heat pump, and it's supplemented with solar panels so that there's on-site non-fossil fuel energy generation. There's improvements proposed in structural biodiversity through a large pond. There'll be a swift or a swallow terrace. There'll be a bat box. lighting will be controlled by detectors, limiting them time and duration of those. And that will also aid in disturbance to nocturnal species at night. When looking at the three tenets of the National
Can you
Planning
draw
Policy,
your remarks to a close, please, Lee?
that's fine. That last bit was only if I had time, Chair. So thank you, and I will close there. I trust that that covers everything at your discretion. I'd be pleased to answer any questions, and I hope the Parish Council could support the application. Thank you, Chair and Councillors.
Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, can I confirm that you've received the emails that Hazel sent round with a list of other objections that we've received as a parish council?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And a reference has already been made to the material that's on the Mendip website as well. Have you had a look at that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Including some that went up very recently this afternoon, a letter from CPRE, the Council for the Preservation of Rural England. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. To summarise those objections, which I won't go through in full, I think they've been generally referred to in Dan Foster's 3 minutes anyway. There have been a number of comments about the fact that this is a development on agricultural land on the fringe of the village. There are also some comments about the public right of way, but as the application makes clear, as far as I can see, it has no impact whatsoever on the public right of way. So I think the principal questions which we have to talk about are to do with the location of this on the fringe of the village, and the precedent that might set for allowing other parcels of agricultural land to be used for housing developments at a point in the future, which would obviously be undesirable. Do you want to, who would like to go first with any comments or questions that they've got? Alistair?
I'm happy to go in if you like. I thought it was a well put together presentation from Right Consult, and I think it explained very clearly what Roger Eddy was after trying to achieve, which is essentially that if he gets older and more frail as he gets older, he's going to look for a property that he can put a lift in. That seems to be the prime concern for him to build a new house. And having said that, I think, it's a fairly well put together documentation, but I think the basis of it all is rather weak and feeble. Just because Roger thinks he's going to get old and frail and might need a carer and a lift, he therefore wants to build in a new house on some agricultural land, which, as Dan Foster has pointed out, doesn't really justify the use of agricultural land on the extent of the village. So I think that's the main objection to it. The fact that it's extending the village perimeter for not a particularly substantial reason that the tenant may require, the applicant may want, and there's no reason why he couldn't, put a lift into his existing house.
Okay. Anybody else like to chip in?
I was going to say the same as Alistair. So.
Yeah. Martin Smith.
The point about being agricultural land is a bit, what shall I say? It's not exactly digging into a 20-acre field or anything, because it's only a little tiny paddock. The bit about the road, I understand that would be a passing point on a very narrow, awkward road, busy road. In works on the fringe of the village or not, that's up to Mendip, I consider. I can't see much wrong with the design of it either, but that's my opinion. Okay.
Okay, thank you. The other Martin?
I think the submission from Right Consult is very good. I've got no complaints about the design of the house. I think the road access would enable more passing of existing traffic, so I don't see that as being a great issue. Using up of agricultural land is for where it is neither here nor there, really. Roger could decide he just doesn't want it to be used for anything agricultural anyway, and then it wouldn't be agricultural land, it would just be wasteland. So I don't think that's one great big problem. But it is outside the development limits of the village. So for that reason, I can't see how you can break that rule just because somebody thinks they're going to get old. We're all going to get old, but that doesn't mean so we're all going to build a house outside the village. So yes, I agree with Alistair, really.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, my feeling is that the issue of agricultural land is not so much the value of that land as agricultural land, but the principle of preserving parcels of agricultural land in and around the village, because this is not the only place where somebody could decide it would be nice to build some houses. And we have over recent years allowed a number of, for want of a better term, infill developments to take place, but they've always been within existing residential plots, or there's been some sort of agricultural tie associated with them. And generally, even when those things have gone ahead, the agricultural ones, they've been without our recommending that they be approved. So I think it would be a substantial precedent for this parish council over what it's done in recent years to recommend this one for approval. And that's not to diminish at all the laudable motives behind building somewhere that's comfortable for retirement. But a number of the written comments that we've had have made the point that you can adapt almost any house to be more suitable for older living, as indeed a couple of people have already done in the village by installing lifts in existing quite complex houses and managing perfectly well in their later years in them. So I'm not sure that that's sufficient to outweigh the issue of encroaching onto the land around the village. Anybody else want to add anything?
No.
Okay, well, we need to come up with a clear recommendation, or we could put in a narrative recommendation. I'd remind those watching from the public that North Wootton Parish Council is not a decision-making body in these matters. We simply give a recommendation to Mendip District Council, or the ultimate decision-making body, and that they may choose to disregard our opinion. But our opinions are important, and they do have some impact, because if decisions are made by Mendip which are contrary to the parish council, it's normal for the district councillor to get involved, and he's already indicated on the website that he would do that. And normally these matters would then get referred to the planning board, which is a further opportunity for public scrutiny and for people to make their points for and against the proposal. So let's take a simple recommendation to begin with. Would anybody like to recommend that this is approved as it stands? No. Okay. Is there anybody who would like to recommend that it is not approved?
Yes.
Yes.
I think we've got 4 out of 5 for that. I can't see your hand, Martin. Did you not put your hand up? Martin,
No, I won't recommend it. No, I'm abstaining. I'm not voting.
You're abstaining. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think by it's a little more difficult with the Zoom meeting to be sure we've got a clear decision on this. But for avoidance of doubt, can I be clear then that with the exception of Martin Smith, we are saying that we recommend that this is not approved, and the reason given being that it is a development outside the village envelope on agricultural land.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you, gentlemen, for coming and giving us the benefit of your views on the proposal this evening.
As always, thank you for your time, councillors. And
Thanks, Lee. Okay. Other planning matters that have arisen, to the best of my knowledge, we have nothing before us, Hazel. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Chairman. Nothing else.
Thank you. Item 6, the date of the next meeting, we have provisionally scheduled for the 15th of September. That's a full ordinary bi-monthly meeting. Everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
What
Without,
time would that one be?
sorry, I think that would be at our normal
What time for the-
7:30 time, 7:30.
That's fine. At 7:30, yes.
So 7:30 on the 15th of September. So Hazel, can we leave you to submit our recommendation on that basis?
Yes, you can, Chairman.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining. I've closed the meeting at that point.
Okay.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.